Bill Schindler back with you here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. We've been visiting with Jim Tracy, former manager of the Pirates, Dodgers, and Rockies, and we've had a lot more to talk with Jim about. So here it is, as we sat down a little bit earlier tonight with Jim Tracy. Jim, looking at one of the biggest fads or trends or whatever you want to call it, I guess, is the shift. That is seemed to be now everywhere in the game. It's prevalent. Is it here to stay? What do you think about it?
Well, I really think, this is obviously some things that have come out with the sabermetric aspect of the game now. And, I personally, I find, and I found over the course of 11 years managing in the big leagues, that those numbers are very useful, Bill, in this regard. If you have a question or you're wondering about this or that, it helps to lead to an answer. The numbers, in some cases, will tell you things that if you're looking at them closely enough, there's an anticipation with regard to personnel matchups as to more than likely what's going to happen here. For that reason, I like them. I like that very much, and yet there's also the human element, and you cannot dismiss the human element in the game of baseball. And personally, for me, the ones that do and think that you're just going to win games, whether it's Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NHL, or the NFL, and you're simply going to win baseball games because a computer spit this printout out, and this is what it says is going to happen. It's a disregard for the human element, and more times than not, the good ones are the ones that take the sabermetric information and realize that the game is still played by human beings, and they apply both, and they become very successful. This shift, Bill, I think that if there's probability saying that this particular hitter, whoever it is, let's say we're overshifted to the right side of the infield, and the guy is going to continue to hit into the shift and never force you to adjust, I guess I would come back at you and say, why would you play straight up and allow balls that he's hitting to roll through and be base hits when he's showing you no interest whatsoever of hitting the ball to the other side of the field where there are absolutely no fielders? Why would you change? So that you can give the other team hits? It makes no sense. I mean, you adjust to what your opposition is doing, and if they're not making any adjustments, why would you change?
Well, it reminds me of what Eddie Murray once said. He said it shouldn't be called baseball. It should be called adjustments.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Bill? There's a heck of a lot of validity to what Eddie is saying, because to me, that's what Major League Baseball is. It is a game of adjustments because you play against one another so often. That proverbial book that you hear about too, Bill, all the time when you hear, well, the book's out on him, that book doesn't go away. And if it's a book where there's information as to what it is that they can do to you to make your life miserable, they're going to do it, Bill. And until the people in the league see you make an adjustment to where that plan of attack is no longer working, they're not going to change. So as long as you force them to rewrite a new chapter in the book as far as your name is concerned, and you don't do that, then they're going to keep attacking you. And I think that's why this level is so difficult to play, because if you're stubborn, unwilling, or incapable of adjusting, then the major league level, it's going to be a very short period of time that you're there, and you're probably not going to resurface if you cannot adjust to given situations, whether defensively, offensively, pitching-wise. You can't make adjustments, you won't last long in the league.
We're visiting with Jim Tracy, who managed, of course, the Dodgers, Pirates, and Rockies here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. Jim, would you ever consider going back and managing again?
Oh, definitely. I would love to, actually. But, I think that, when I say 33 years, Bill, I'm talking 33 years as a player, a coach, a manager, which includes, managerial stints in the wintertime over in Mexico, and it's now gone on long enough for me to where I think I've earned the right to be able to listen to whomever it is that would like to talk about a situation that you're describing. And it's also one that personally for me, Bill, I would have to be interested in. I don't think I could sit here and tell you that anything, the first call that I receive, I'm back. I don't think that's the case. I think that there's certain circumstances, if they were to develop, I would love to explore them. Mm-hmm. And if, in fact, they don't come about, well, then more than likely I won't be doing it anymore.
So you could pull essentially like a major league where they'll give you the call and say, how'd you like to manage the Cleveland Indians? And you say, well, let me think about it. I got a guy on the other line with some white walls.
Something like that, I guess. Something like that.
Hey, Jim, there's a little game we like to play here, and I only do it with certain guests, and I wanted to play it with you. I call it Schindler's List.
Okay.
I go through sort of a rapid-fire question here, and you kind of come up with the first thing that comes to your mind. Sort of a word association in ways, not really that, but get you thinking about certain things, just kind of questions that we're curious about. Is that okay with you?
I'm fine.
All righty.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite player to manage?
My favorite player to manage. See, your first question right out of the chute, and it's virtually impossible to answer. There were so many of them. Okay, but since we have to do, and as you mentioned, it's rapid fire. I'd have to say one guy that's certainly at the top of my list. Would be Adrian Beltre.
Okay, worst call made by an umpire you can remember.
Wow. I would have to say the ejection of Eric Gagne in Cincinnati after an Aaron Boone home run, and Adam Dunn was clipped, and I mean literally just touched on the jersey. And an umpire that was in for one of the main guys that was on vacation or whatever stepped out and threw my closer out in Cincinnati. That one probably ranks right up there.
See, I knew you'd have something for that. You never forget those.
Yeah, it didn't take me long to jog my memory for that one either.
Best part of being a player in Japan?
Wow. The best part of being a player in Japan, I would have to say, because of the fact it goes without saying you love the game, I think the opportunity of going to a country that, in my opinion, is absolutely unbelievable, the way it goes about its business, the way things run, and the way things work over there. An opportunity to be involved and take part in another culture and get an opportunity over the course of 2 years to see what it was all about. That was pretty special, I got to tell you.
How about the worst part of being a player in Japan?
Well, it would more than likely be the worst part if you don't learn or like to eat sushi. Then you may have a problem over there.
I've had a cuttlefish or two over there that I think was still blinking at me on the way down.
You gotta like that. You gotta like it, and if not, you gotta learn how to like it, Schindler. That's all there is to it.
That's true. If you were a GM, if we made Jim Tracy a GM today, and you could hire one manager, who would it be?
Wow. Tony La Russa would be a strong consideration for me.
All right. Who should host a talk show? Or who would be better at it, in your opinion? Gary Sheffield, who you managed, or Ricky Henderson?
Ricky Henderson would be very, very entertaining. There's no question about that. I had the privilege of managing both guys, both very special contributors to situations that I had in Los Angeles. But I would have to say that, knowing Ricky and some of his antics, etc., that would be an awfully entertaining show, I think.
You can change one rule in baseball. What do you change?
Wow.
I told you this wasn't going to be easy.
No, you're not kidding. You're really putting me under the gun here. If I could change one rule in baseball, what would it be? Wow.
We had Joe Buck on earlier, and he said the strike zone. He changed the strike zone, have it called the way it is in the rule book.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know so much that would be the rule that I would attack. I really think that, I understand what they're doing with the pace of the game and things like that. But let's do that because I sat on a panel with Tony a couple years ago when they were talking about this replay challenge and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if there's one thing that I would be to make them very think very hard about what one they're going to challenge versus not challenge, etc. I'm saying that if you challenge and you're wrong, that even if it's the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, you've lost your challenges. Once if you challenge a call and you're right, obviously you still have your one challenge, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
If you challenge early in the game and you miss out and the umpires have gotten the call right, then personally for me, you don't get any more because I really think what I'm watching today is obviously from the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning on, or 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, that even if you've challenged one earlier in the game and they got the call right, you still have the opportunity to walk out there in the latter third of the game and ask an umpire request, hey, you might have missed that one. Would you take a look at it? So I don't know that you're being penalized at all for. Basically, to me, I challenge everything because there's nothing that there's no penalty from the for the last 3 innings of the game.